Right. Well, I think our first half kicked us off with a strong start and a lot of words of wisdom and powerful messages. So let's keep this energy going, and I would like to invite up our lovely Sara.
I know you too. Thank you. So I was thinking about getting over it, and I was thinking about forgiveness, and you always hear forgive and forget, right? Forgive and forget. And I'm going to talk a little bit about forgiving and forgetting as it relates to my relationship with my father. Because I have a difficult relationship with my father. And that's not to say that I have a bad relationship with him, because I don't. I have a great relationship with my dad, but it's difficult. When I was young, I probably thought it was a bad relationship because I wore a lot of black and wrote a lot of poetry and thought it was like me against the world. And then I met people who had bad relationships with their parents, and I was like, oh no, my shit is fine. We're just dysfunctional. And that's because we don't communicate very well. My dad is charismatic and fun and pushy and needy and generous and difficult, all in one measure. And I'm probably a lot of those things too. And one of the things that made things difficult with my father growing up is that he does not believe in good enough. And what I mean by that is that if you would call him with good news, he would want to know why your news wasn't really better than the good news that you had. So for instance, in high school, if I'd call and be like, hey, I got a B+ on that history exam, he'd be like, oh, why didn't you get an A? And I think that was harder for my sisters than it was for me, because they really went the route of trying to gain that approval and excelling in different areas and wanting him to be excited about that excellence. And I really just swathed myself in mediocrity. Because if I didn't care what he thought, it would probably make it easier to have a good relationship with him. And this is not advice I would dole out to the youth, but it really worked. Because once my dad realized I wasn't going to respond to that kind of personality trait, he stopped doing it. And we started getting along. But the thing that wasn't really fair is that I didn't extend that same courtesy to him. And it took quite a while, but I remember once having a fight with him when we were in college, and I have no idea what the fight was about. But my best friend Bob gave me a piece of advice that was going to change my life. And he said, you've got to stop waiting for your dad to be the dad you want him to be, and start accepting him for the person that he is. And that was just fucking revelatory. Holy shit. He is a human being with flaws, and if I just accept those, like I do with my friends, we can get along. Because when you start accepting the flaws of a person, you stop trying to change your history, and you start living in the present. And Dad and I really developed a pretty good friendship, and he fucking hate that I said that, because he's like, I don't need to be friends with my kids. That's like a famous dad, I'm not here to be friends with you, I'm here to tell you the truth. But we did, and we had a really similar sense of humor, and we like to drink beer, and we like to watch football, and we really enjoy hanging out together. Until this Christmas. And a little backstory here, my parents got divorced when I was young, 6 or 7. So I haven't spent a Christmas waking up in the same house with my dad since I was 7 years old. And he's living in Arizona, and I'm living here, and we've got a house in Chile, in Chile and Iowa, and that's where we're gonna celebrate. And he called and said he wanted to stay at my house for Christmas. And I was just really oddly excited about this. I was like, oh, this is going to be like Norman Rockwell. And that's where the wheels really fell off the bus. Because my family is not, they're not the Brady Bunch. They're very the Connors. We put the fun in dysfunctional. There was no way we were going to have an It's a Wonderful Life Christmas. And that's what I started building up in my head. And we bought a guest bed because we didn't have one. I decorated his room, got sheets, got groceries. And when you put things up on a pedestal, it just kind of gives it a really long distance to fall, and we fell hard. And we had a big fight on Christmas Eve, like big. And the whole, what we were fighting over isn't really important. The important takeaway is that I was right and he was wrong. And I know this because he does this really fun thing when he knows he's wrong, which is to act like nothing happened and be overzealously happy. It is fucking infuriating. So when he started calling me after Christmas, I was like, I'm not doing this time. He's gonna say, I'm sorry. He's not just gonna act like it didn't happen, he's going to say the words. And this was also not a realistic proposition. My dad doesn't do that. That was not going to happen, but I was gonna make it happen. And so I did what any reasonable adult would do, and I froze him out 16-year-old Sara style. Like, I'm not responding to texts. If he calls, I'm giving one-word answers. I'm not asking him any questions. I'm off the phone in 3 minutes. I am not kowtowing to this. He's gonna try to be friendly, and I'm not taking it. And I kept that up. I kept it up hard. And I kept it up for a few months. And we got to Valentine's Day, his favorite holiday. And I know he's gonna call me, and I know he's gonna be super excited, and I know he's gonna wanna tell me all the things he wishes he could do. He would give me my Valentine's pajamas and my chocolate-covered strawberries if I was in the States, but I'm not. And I didn't want to let him feel that love, because I'm so fucking mad at him. And so I saw that call come in, and I rejected it. I threw the gauntlet. I was gonna get the last word. And I felt really powerful, honestly. Like, that rejection felt good. And the next day, he had a massive heart attack and died. That son of a bitch gets the last word all the time. Like, all the time. And I am furious. Like, I'm seeing red angry. Like, this is really how you're gonna respond to me rejecting the call? Because it feels like this escalated really fast and in a very unfair way. And the whole time I'm trying to get back to the States and I'm trying to get to Arizona, I'm thinking that I'm gonna show up at his house and he's gonna be sitting at his kitchen table and be like, that's why you answer your phone, Sara. And of course that didn't happen. And I'm just beyond words angry. I'm so mad I don't even know what to do with it. And I'm talking to my mom a couple of weeks later and I'm telling her how angry I am and how it's just so unfair. It's so unfair and so unfinished. And I never get to fix it. Like, it doesn't matter if I forgive him. It doesn't matter if I don't. He's gone. That forgiveness is not. And Mom says, God, you gotta stop beating yourself up like this. Your dad would not want you to feel this bad. And I'm like, I feel like you don't know him at all when you say things like that. Because he would totally want me to feel this bad. Like, let's not act like he was somebody he wasn't. He was petty. He loves to win an argument. He's feeling really good about this. And I don't want to act like that's not who he was, because he was petty. And he was funny, and he was fantastic. And I'm not gonna forget that. And he loved me tremendously, and I loved him tremendously. And at the end of the day, that's what's important, and the forgiveness is not. Thanks.